Hello, possums, and welcome to all the intrepid viewers out there. Now, strangely, it's been a slow news week, has it not? You know, probably the aftermath of the midterms and general exhaustion and Thanksgiving, etc., etc. Very little has been going on in the usual domain. So this reading's going to be a bit more here and there to catch up. Now, Nancy, I thought she had actually resigned, but you guys corrected me. She hasn't resigned. She's just stepped down from the speakership and she'll continue to represent her constituents in California. So she's still at it. Most of you thought Hakeem Jeffries was a really good choice. And he does seem smart and he does have a heart on some level. But to a certain extent, the only ones not satisfied are the real progressives in the form of the squad who are out there. Please don't write to me about saying real progressives. I'll take that back. The more ardent progressives in the form of the squad. And I thought, I don't remember ever reading on the squad. So this is Omar and AOC. I forget even who the other two are. I think there's 4 in the squad. But I'm interested, will they have their day in the sun at some point? Will the Dems allow a radical progressive voice through in the next few years? So we'll have a look at that. The squad. Here we go. All right. So their signifier, their obstacles, how they're feeling in the past, how are they feeling now, the energy over the issue, and the outcome. Okay. So their signifier, their main card, is the victory card, which looks great until you see their obstacle card, which is the 10 of Swords. But we'll get there. So this image is they have the potential for victory. However, they're dealing with this. So much else has gone on, and I can understand the senior Dems not wanting to go out on a limb, during the Trump stuff to get Biden, the teddy bear of America, to make people feel safe. I understand that. And so they were sort of pinned down in many ways. But the thing to remember with the 10 of Swords is it's a 10, the end of a cycle, and the phoenix rises after the end of a cycle. So I think they're going to be pushed down some more, and then progress. Okay. So their feelings in the past were more about strategizing how to have an impact, how to serve their constituents and stay true to what they promised them, but planning and experience, if you like, is coming into play. So how are they feeling now? The Queen of Cups. Look, I'm getting a vibe. Nancy's normally the Queen of Pentacles for me, but in this, it's like the Queen of Cups in a way. I think as she's withdrawing, I think possibly she's become more generous towards them, not as total political opponents or something. There's a mother vibe here. And my feeling is maybe she's gone to the squad and said, it's not your time now, but your time will come, or something like that. Okay, so the message from the universe, 10 of Pentacles, they've got to come to grips with the nature of power and money dynamics. Personally, I think they understand that dynamic better than anybody. I think they have the solutions to this. But this is what the others, and possibly Nancy in her maternal role, is saying to them, this is how the power lies, this is what the donors pay for, blah, blah, blah. So they're still kept under. Their outcome card, though, is the Six of Swords. So I think they will be able to move on, but with some baggage here in the boat. So the squad, my takeaway is not yet, but their time will come. They started with that victory card. Their time will come. And as soon as the Dems wake up to that, the better. I think, you know, America is a huge, diverse place. And so there's nothing wrong with having the squad doing their thing in their more democratic states and things, and let the Pete Buttigieg's and the Swalwells and people take on the more conservative heartland, you know. Personally, I think they should put Eric Swalwell up as the new Kennedy and go for it before 2024. I really do. And in future readings, we'll be reading on will Biden be there at that point, etc., etc. But not for today. So I've done the squad. In further news in soccer, the World Cup, Japan's doing really well. And they're not a soccer nation, so it's a really big deal. And their fans have surprised everyone and inspired people by, instead of just getting up and leaving all their trash for the workers to clean up, they clean up their whole stand. And now they've shamed other people into doing it because there's been a lot of stuff about how badly treated the industrial workers are in Qatar. So they're neat by nature, they're very clean and neat people. However, it's also speaking to this. Don't leave all your crap for someone else to clean up who's getting paid nothing, right? You know. So good on Japan. Now, the GOP, more and more people are thinking the GOP are going to ditch the Yeti and go with DeSantis. But then Rick Wilson came out in an article I read yesterday. Now, he's a GOP strategist from back in the day. He also left with the Lincoln Project. So he's a defector to the GOP. And he's saying, no, they'll stay with him. So I thought, will they or won't they? So that's our question now. GOP, will they go with Trump again? Will they go with Trump again? It's staggering to me how they support this guy who doesn't have the brain of a cocktail sausage, right? He divides the nation. He loses elections. He brings out the worst in everybody. Awesome candidate. Go GOP. So will they or won't they? Oh, sorry. The wedding card. Look, with 4 cards, I think he might be right. Oh, my God. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing for the Dems. We'll come to that in coming weeks. But this is staying married to Trump. Okay. The 8 of Pentacles, they haven't totally made up their collective mind on this because they're working behind the scenes, working, counting the votes of who'd support who and doing all that step by step with this 8 of Pentacles. The 4 of Pentacles, they're holding on tight. They don't want people to know there are these huge divisions. But how could there not be? You know, how could there not be? So, but they're They're very good at that, the GOP. They don't wash their dirty linen in public as a rule. So they're holding on tight, but their outcome is the fool, which would indicate to me they're going to jump off the cliff with you know who. Really? Okay. Now, just a couple of other snippets here. There's China right now. Most of you have probably seen there's been rolling protests in China. So what happened is China has adopted a zero COVID case policy, and that meant literally locking people in their homes and stopping people leaving their tiny little flats or apartments. And I went through one of the longest lockdowns in the world in Melbourne, and I can't imagine what they're going through, because we could still go for a walk, right? And they can't. It's house arrest. So what happened? There was a fire in an apartment block and people couldn't get out. And so now these rolling protests have started. We know they'll clamp down very hard and viciously, but will the protests lead to any change, some degree of freedom for China? I've just got to have a gulp of coffee. We're entering this new time of protest as I think the earth is recalibrating, and people are no longer prepared to tolerate what they've tolerated for so long. So let's look at China and the protests. China and the protests. Oh, I was shuffling away, raving on, and they get the wedding card too. I have to think about that. Oh, this is significant. So the wedding card here, oops. At the moment, I think this is the Communist Party, the single party, holding the line, right, because they have enough support to do that. And they will continue to say publicly, we will not cave into the protesters. People are prepared to sacrifice themselves for this. They are over it. They're also dealing with the aftermath of the one-child policy. And the one-child policy wasn't just a one-child policy, leading to a generation of spoilt kids. It was a one-boy policy, because they would have terminations often if it was a girl child. So you've got this disproportionate number of single boys. But I digress. Back to this. People are prepared to sacrifice. Who can forget Tank Man in Tiananmen Square? The one man standing in front of the tanks. That image will haunt us all forever. People are going to be prepared to go to these sort of lengths, right? Sacrifice. On top, the star. So that's inspiration and hope, followed by the Wheel of Fortune. I think this is a turning point. These are the biggest protests since 1989. This is a once-in-a-generation thing. I think it's going to turn the wheel. I think they're not in vain. People will be beaten, they'll be arrested, they will be killed. However, people are so brave, aren't they? You've got to look around the world. Sometimes I feel like such a marshmallow when I think how courageous people are. But it is going to turn the wheel, right? So blessings to all those involved with that. So before I get on to Jack Smith, the special counsel, North Korea Kim Jong-un appeared on Saturday. You know, he's been AWOL for what, a year or something. So he, or the lookalike, came out on Saturday with his daughter. Now, it's not called the Hermit Kingdom for nothing. How many of you guys knew he had 3 children, allegedly? I don't know if I believe it, because it's never been confirmed by the North Korean authorities that he has 3 children, right? That's weird. 2 girls and a boy, never confirmed. Suddenly, a girl appears. Suddenly, her father appears, which is just as mysterious. So I'm not going to read on that. I just want to draw your attention to it. We're going to motor on to Jack Smith, and then I have some general news for you about this channel and things. Don't worry, nothing dramatic. Jack Smith, the special counsel, he's probed war crimes, so he's the man for the job. The Yeti, of course, went into paroxysms of idiocy about the man's wife. She made a $2,000 donation to Biden's campaign. He's getting his knickers in a twist over that. What about Jenny Thomas? Now, in the bigger picture, of course, it shouldn't matter whose spouse does what. You know, there's Kellyanne Conway and George Conway and others who have divergent political interests. The problem with Jenny Thomas, which is far worse than a $2,000 donation, is she was an active logistical support person for the insurrection. A little bit different, pet, you know. Anyway, he's out there. So we're going to look at Jack Smith. He's stuck in Europe because he had a bike accident and he's recovering from surgery. So he's already starting his work, which is on, I think he's got 2 sort of targets. One is the trying to stop the election being certified, and one is the Mar-a-Lago documents. So Jack Smith. I just heard Roy Cohn, who, as many of you know, was the truly evil lawyer that Donald Trump inherited from Fred, who took everyone to the cleaners, who countersued everybody, who taught him everything he knows about being an out-and-out bastard. Right. So now he's met the Roy Cohn from the other side, I think, in the form of Jack Smith. Let's have a look. Jack Smith. All right, inconclusive, so I'll have to get my other cards out. So what we've got here, it begins with the 10 of Cups. The 10 of Cups, in this sense, I think is putting an end to this cycle of outlaw behavior by the Yeti. He sees this as his central mission. Okay. Now, he has the ability to radiate strength and confidence, and I think that will be infectious for his team. He is a no-nonsense guy capable of revealing a lot. So, with Trump himself here in the form of the emperor, Jack Smith has to do a bit of a dance, because normally, I'm sure, when you're prosecuting someone, you've got the possibility of taking it all away legally and trusting that the court system will deliver a sentence appropriate to the charges. But Trump is still the emperor. And I'm not at all confident anyone's going to send this man to jail. I'm sorry, but I just don't see it. So he's still got that emperor energy to some extent. However, back to Jack Smith, King of Wands, he has the fire in the belly. I think he's personally outraged by what's happened to his country. And he has the power in the form of the staff to go all the way. However, I went short-term, medium outcomes. The Nine of Swords. I really hope this is the Yeti in tears and not Jack Smith, right? But Jack Smith is going to have issues, I think, with the not so much now, but in the final stages. It's this eternal question. What do you charge him with? What is the penalty for that? And who's going to deliver it? So this is the argy-bargy card. He can only go so far, and then other people have to step up. Let's ask that. I'm going to leave those cards down and ask. Now, to a certain extent, his job, I don't want to underestimate the job. It's a huge job. But at the end of the day, we know there's millions of documents outlining step by step what the Yeti did. There is no shortage of evidence. So I guess his job is collating the evidence and deciding we haven't got time for all that. We have to focus on this and this. So now I want to know is, will the judicial system take up Jack Smith's recommendations? I'm sure he'll do his job, but then what? Okay. Will the judicial system back up Jack Smith? Will the judicial system back up Jack Smith? Okay. Ace of Swords is promising. Yeah. Oh, wow. I hope I've got that right. Okay. The legal eagles will. They don't care. This is right under the emperor, right? They're prepared to pierce the crown, right? I'm talking about the legal steps after Jack Smith. They'll be waiting for their ship to come in. We'll all be waiting, won't we, intrepid viewers? And the final outcome is the Tower. The final outcome is the Tower. And let us pray on a daily basis for whose tower this is. But these two cards give me more confidence. But there it is. Okie dokie. Now, in other news, the good news is I'm going home in about 2 hours. I'm off to the airport. And that means I can start doing readings again with you guys, which I love doing, personal readings. So if you want a reading, email me. I'll put the email on this video. Okay. So in case you have trouble seeing it, you'd be able to find it on my website. Not my website. What have I got? The channel. Okay. So email me. And the other news is I'll be back with Hogarth and Lady G Saturday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is some god-awful time on Sunday for me. So we'll be back with Saturday Night Live. So those are my 2 bits of housekeeping for you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all your support and your well wishes. And I'm very excited to be going home. It's been wonderful The whole thing has been amazing. I'm really glad to be back in my own bed. So thank you guys. You take care. All the best for now. Ciao.